welcome to lesson 77. This is called converting units of weight and mass. Now, we have two different systems that we use in the world with weight and mass. We have the U.S. customary system, which is what you all may be the most familiar with because this is what we use in the United States. And then the rest of the world uses the metric system. So the metric system you also tend to see on items that you would buy at the grocery store. You'll usually see both U.S. customary system and the metric system because the majority of the world uses these measurements or these units of weight and mass versus what we use for ounces, pounds, and tons. Now, what I would like you to do is I'd like you to copy down this chart right here for your notes, please, and I'll be grading on that, making sure you watched and participated. If I wrote it down, you can write it down too. So we have our 16 ounces equals 1 pound, and that's, I know a unit or a conversion that we've already talked about before is our 16 ounces in 1 pound conversion. And then also whenever we have a ton, I know some people will use as an exaggeration and say like, oh, this weighs a ton. Well, a ton literally means 2,000 pounds. So if you were to ever say that your backpack weighs a ton, it doesn't, because it would be, obviously I wouldn't be able to lift it. That would be 2,000 pounds. And then we have our metric system. We have 1,000 milligrams equals 1 gram. We have 1,000 grams equals 1 kilogram. And then we have 1,000 kilograms equals 1 ton. So notice we actually have 1 ton, and this is just abbreviated with a T because this is a metric system. So this ton and this ton are actually different measurements. And I put a note here that I would also like you to write down, so I've put the asterisks. A kilogram is a little more than 2 pounds, so that's about what this would weigh, so 1 kilogram would be a little more than 2 pounds, so it would feel pretty light. And a metric ton is about 2,200 pounds. So notice this ton here is about 2,200 pounds, whereas this is only 2,000 pounds. So we're going to look at our first example together, and I'd like you to write down notes with me as well on this. We have the large elephant weighs about 4 tons. We need to know this. About how many pounds does the large elephant weigh? So I'm trying to figure out 4 tons. Now, usually when it just talks about tons, we want to focus on our U.S. customary system. Unless it specifically says metric tons, we're going to automatically assume it's the U.S. tons that we're talking about. So 4 tons is how many pounds? Well, the way I'm going to find that out is I know that 1 ton equals 2,000 pounds, but I want 4 tons. So they're each 2,000 pounds. It's going to be a multiplication problem. I'm going to do 2,000 times 4. And 4 times 0 is 0, 4 times 0 is 0 again. I have another 0, and then 4 times 2 is 8. So that is going to be 8,000 pounds. So the large elephant would weigh 8,000 pounds. That would be a lot. So, example 2 I know might be a little hard to read because I wrote it in orange, hoping that it would have been easier, but I'll read it for you for those of you that can't read it or can hardly see it. It says the watermelon's mass was 6 kilograms. So the watermelon's mass is 6 kilograms. I have 1 kilogram here, so we might be looking at this measurement. The mass of the watermelon was how many grams? So I know that the watermelon's mass is 6 kilograms, and I want to figure out how many grams it is. Well, I'm going to look at my table. That's going to be the metric system, and I actually have a conversion right here that we want to look at as our grams and kilograms. I know that 1 kilogram is 1,000 grams. So that means if I have 6 of these, 6 kilograms, for it to still be equal, I need to have 6 of these. That's a multiplication problem. And that's 1,000 times 6, which many of you can do in your head, but we are still going to show our work. I have 6,000 times, 1,000. I don't want to give the answer away. 1,000 grams times 6. I do 6 times 0 is 0, 0, 0, and 6 times 1 is 6. There we go. So we have how many grams a watermelon weighs is 6,000 grams. Now we have our last example, example 3. You're still taking notes with me. It says, which is heavier, a car that weighs a ton or a car that weighs a metric ton? And this one should be pretty simple because I've already given you the hint and given you the answer here, because a metric ton is about 2,200 pounds, whereas a U.S. ton is only 2,000 pounds. So the one that weighs more would be the metric ton. And now we'll practice set problems together in class because there's plenty of them to do. We'll practice them and I'll see where you're at. And I'll also be grading on your notes, making sure that you have this written down, and as well as this and the work that I've shown here on the example problem. So thank you very much for listening and paying attention.